Chapter 4. Extra Space. Seeing my dad was a banker, he had pretty good credit with the bank. The summer before we moved, he took out a huge loan to do some house fixing up, finishing work on the old mansion. Not a lot, just enough to give it a fresh new look. Some of the rooms he planned on stripping out the old sheetrock and replacing it with new. Plus he planned on painting most of the inside and outside. School had not started yet, so obviously he wanted us children to help. The first thing he planned on fixing was the closets. He started in my room first, and the closet in my room. "Jill, this is how you take off the old plaster," my dad yells through his face mask right before he begins to swing his hammer and smash the plaster to pieces. You do not want to swing the hammer hard, just enough that the plaster begins to crumble. You want to keep the little boards under the plaster, my dad says, pointing towards the wall that now was slightly caved in. Smash, pop. You see that, Frog, all that wood, my dad asks. Yes, Frog answered. You want to keep all that, my dad says, yelling through his face mask, pointing at the wall. I notice Frog looking around my bedroom. He sees a hammer my dad had placed in the room. He picks it up. He squeezes in behind Dad and begins to lightly tap the wall. Dad, Frog says, this side of the closet does not have the little boards. He was on the side of the closet that faced the room Steph had slept in days prior. What? Let me look, my dad says, taking off his face mask. I cannot see. It's too dark in there. Frog, go to the toolbox and grab me that little flashlight, my dad says, full of excitement, looking at Frog. Frog moves quickly to the last place he saw the toolbox. Here you go, Dad, Frog says as he quickly finds the flashlight and hands it to Dad. Wow, Dad says, there's a whole lot of space in here. And look at that. There's some old boxes in there, he says, completely taking off his face mask from his face from the wall. Dad picks up his hammer and gently and quickly begins to peel off the old sheetrock. Once he had made a hole big enough, he reached in and pulled out an odd-looking cardboard box. Paper Mill Corp was written on the side of it. Frog, Sally, and I followed him into the hallway, eager to see what was inside. Let me see, I say, peeking over my dad's shoulder as he set the box down. Dad sets the box down in the old wood-stained floor hallway, blows off some of the dust that had gathered on the top of the box. He pulled back the cardboard flaps and began to pull out papers, some normal-looking papers and some that appeared to be newspapers. I picked up one of the papers that was placed in the box. I looked at the first page. My eyes glanced at the title, New York paper. I scrolled down to the date, May of 1931, it read on the yellow stained paper. The Empire State Building has just been complete, read the article under the date. Dad, this paper is old. Look, I say, holding up the paper to his face. The Empire State Building, now complete. I see it, Jill, my dad says. It was completed in 1950, though. Dad continues speaking. Wonder why they hid that in the wall. Would have made more sense to extend your closet to make it more spacious. He shuffled through the box. It does not look like much in here, just some old papers. I will have your mother go through these later. Maybe there is some money in it for us. Frog, these 3 boxes I found inside the wall? Yes, Frog answers. Can you bring them down to the kitchen and set them by the kitchen table? By the end of the day, the closet was expanded 5 more feet, seeing that Dad could find no reason for the wasted hidden space. The next day, after the drywall had settled, I painted the closet pink. Dad told me I could pick whatever color I wanted, so I picked pink. In the next few months, he will finish the rest of the room. Today it will just be the closet. This old house is nice. I could smell the money coming forth from its insides. I cannot see who would leave such a beautiful place abandoned for so long. The place sat empty the whole time I was growing up. The outside must have not been painted for 50 years. The shutters on the house look as if a tornado had come through at some point. I step out of the closet and gaze at my work. Painting. Looks good, I say to myself, turning around, noticing the detailed molding hugging the ceiling and wall. This house sure is beautiful, mystic-like and rich. The next morning I woke up from my sleep and stepped my feet in my warm, fluffy animal doll slippers. What could be making all that noise? I slowly walked to the end of the hallway, looking at the simple Degas oil ballet dancer paintings that my mom recently hung in the hallway walls as I went. I reached one of the several bathrooms in the house. I gazed onto the inside. It's a mess. Dad, it looks like a tornado came through here, I say loudly. Good thing you're up, Jill. I'm going to need your help today, Dad says. Okay, let me first get dressed and something to eat, I say. I walk back to my bedroom. I cannot believe he ripped out the toilet, tore down the walls, and had the entire window completely out of the bathroom. I quickly get dressed and walk back to the bathroom. Okay, Dad, I'm ready. What do you need me to do? Okay, Jill, what I need you to do is clean up the broken wood and smashed drywall. Simply place the smashed material and garbage in a bag, and do not fill the bag so full that you cannot carry it, Dad described. Got it, I voiced back towards him as he had his head under some plumbing. I sat down on the floor, feeling sluggish. I considered my short skirt/dress that I would dirty it, but I figured it was once in a great while thing and I ought to just be dirty today. As I began to pull out the broken boards and smashed drywall with my hands, I began finding things, shoes, papers, jewelry, etc. Dad, there are things in this wall, I expressed towards him, hoping to surprise and shock him. You can expect that, Joe. When some of these older houses were built, the bank was not the source, or shall I say, place to store riches. Home was. Instead of the people putting money into the bank, as they do now, they would put it into the walls of their houses. But Jill, Dad resumes, to get the money, if we or the common people wanted it, we or they would have to completely take their house apart, which ended the trend back in the year 1850. I followed, and so we're not going to do that, my dad advises. I pull out of the wall a photo. I take a good look at it. I consider throwing it out. I remember it's money, and I toss it back into the wall, down the rafters that appeared to have no bottom. The smell of sweet wood, rich maple and pine wood, all about the room as I gathered the pieces of drywall in my hands. I gazed up at the carefully designed, dark-stained, wooden mold hung in the ceiling and the wall. Nobody would have moved out of this house unless they were insane, I say quietly. The mansion was beautiful, marvelous, and gorgeous. It was Victorian style, built in the early 19th century, survived 2 wars, and now sat deserted. What happened to its former residents? This does not make any sense. As my hands dig through the broken pieces of drywall, I notice a black paper-type object within the wall. I carefully pulled it out, hoping to not lose it in the void of empty space between the floor and rafters. Yes, I got it. I bring it to my face. A name's written on it. I cannot make it out, though. I flip the picture. It's an old black and white photo of a lady in purple, carrying what appeared to be a covered baby. A man dressed in a fine suit was partially standing behind her right side. I'll keep this, I say to myself, and place the photo in the pocket of the inside of my dress. Lunch is down here in the kitchen when you're ready. I look at my dad. Mom's got us lunch ready. Let's go eat, Dad says, picking me straight up off the floor. Drywall fibers fall off my dress, making a crumbling sound. We quickly rush into the kitchen. I glance at my usual chair and happen to notice the papers we found in the closet, still under Frog's kitchen chair. Forgot about the box. I sat down ready to eat. The smell was so intense I could have thought I was eating. In a hurry, without consideration, I picked up my grilled cheese sandwich and chowed it down in one big bite. Jill, that's not very ladylike. Sorry, Mom, I was so hungry, I say, and quickly change the topic. Dad, the box of papers we found in the closet is under Frog's chair. We forgot all about it. Oh yeah, bring it to me. I want to see if maybe I can find some money in there. I slide out of my chair, crouch down, and pick up the box. I brought it to my dad. He slides the plate across the table and places the box full of papers on the table. He begins to look through them, hoping to find some money. I, hoping to escape work in the bathroom, take the opportunity to find Frog. I look around the house, wondering how I'll find him this time in such a huge house. After checking a few rooms, I get tired and sit down on the blue living room sofa. I rest my mind. Suddenly, I recalled the photo I had in the pocket of my dress. I pulled it out, quickly gazed at the lady in the photo, wondering who it could be. I felt as if I knew the lady. She had a familiar face. Perhaps I met her in another dimension. My eyes began to gaze and stare long at the lady in the photo. The lady was so beautiful, as if something was in the photo keeping me from turning away. Maybe it was her eyes, maybe it was her hair. Something held my eyes to the photo. The trees behind her began to sway in the wind as soft music sounded in the air. This was coming to the photo as if I was there myself. The man behind her welcoming me home. I could almost hear the beautiful lady, the mother calling me, welcome me into her world, to her home. The baby in her arms began to glow bright white, or at least the clothing did. Could not get a clear picture of what the baby looked like. Who could this be? I listened to the gentle, imaginary music for what seemed like 10 minutes. And then I hear Frog say, Jill, you've been in the same spot for a whole hour. It's not been a whole hour, Frog, I barked back. My dad walks into the living room. Okay, Jill, let us go back up to the bathroom. I thought you were going to the box, I responded, frustrated. I did. Later that day, Steph showed up at my house. Dad, I'm done. Steph's in here. I ran down the stairs. Before changing out of my drywall-stained dress, I put on some jeans. Later in my room, Steph, come into the closet. We totally redid it. Plus, we found empty space and added into the closet, so now it's a lot bigger in here. Steph walks through the closet door. A lamp hangs from the ceiling. I did not get a really good look at the old closet, so I did not have anything to compare it to. Steph says, looking at me in the back of the closet. Clean, dry clothes hung in her way of clearly seeing towards the back of the closet. Steph sits down. I softly walk close and sit down in front of her. I begin to gaze at her. What? Steph says. Huh, I respond. You're looking at me like you're in love, like you're gonna kiss me, Steph says. Steph's hair began to appear to move, although there was no wind. I gazed in her eyes, pulling stuff, either out of her or it came out of my thoughts of her. Whatever it was, I must keep it. I began to dream of our friendship, pictures, writing, making life work. I must be mature, I must grow. 5 minutes passed when I gazed at Steph. I realized I must be asking her questions. I will answer her. I'm not in love, I just want to make growth work, I said, comforting her feelings of discomfort. Growth meaning, like fun. Why did you come over? For fun. Yes, Steph answered. Well, pictures are fun. Writing is fun. Depending on our life together sounds fun. Seems right, I say, hoping she was imagining what I was, which was a sure world. Steph looks at me and says, without mature consideration, we will always be together. We spent hours in the closet reading of the pandemic, comforting one another and the world we were creating together. At no point did I consider a threat. Long ago I had taken strike to keep away the pandemic. We must have drifted off because the next thing I bear in mind is waking up in the closet, Steph's head resting on my stomach. The closet door was still open. The morning light in its fresh appearance was just feet away from me. Bizarre aromas filled my nostrils, as if the house were full of a variety of ancient particles. Some smelled as if they were luxuries, but not what appears to be luxury currently, but luxury from distant, very distant past. Though the particles in the air, I was changing. I could sense myself changing. It was as if I could not do the more I was doing before. As if I had to tell myself to stop having fun. Steph wakes up. Morning's here. Steph picks up her head. Okay, I'm up. Steph responds, stumbling out of the closet. What are we going to do today? I want to study a picture I found. I want to spend some time in my father's library. But first we must get something to eat. What would you like to eat, I ask. Something quick, something we can take into the library with us. I seriously have not woken up yet, Steph responds. Steph grabs a couple of swirl muffins off the counter, placed there by my mother, and we walk into the library. Dad, can we look through some of your old books in the library? I asked my dad as he was walking into the living room. Yes, sure, he says with a happy tone in his voice. His library was huge. with 300 books. They were wonderful books, lightening up the room, giving a sense of adventure, exploration, and a long life. I love my dad's way of life. Wanted to be just like him. I marvel and covet my dad's books, wishing I could have them now, all for myself. I could collect more of them, filling every cavity within me, then I should be happy. My hand reaches for the first, thickest book I laid eyes on. I pull it off the shelf. Quickly I open it, longing to see what was on the inside. My eyes will not rest. I cannot get a clear vision of the book. I lead Steph over to the cotton and leather furniture. I fix my mind on the book. I see a few pictures, some old newspapers that were part of the book. Some of the pictures look like my house. I wonder if it is. My eyes still down to the details of the photo. I do not see Holden Street, I say. That must be. Look at that giant rock to the right. I know that rock. My eyes drift over there when coming to your house, and I always have that same thought. Would it not be fun to live in such rocks? Sort of like a dollhouse nobody knows exists. I take the photo out of my pocket and ponder the picture. Who could this lady be? I truly love her, I say to Steph. Right there, Steph says. What? The newspaper article says, multi-million-dollar family mansion gets a new street name for their family inheritance that resides in Walkstown, Massachusetts. They named their street Holden after Clark B. Holden, the major investor who supported the paper corp Massachusetts, stating Clark was the brains and money behind their success. And look at the picture. That must be your house right there in the newspaper that is published in the book. A date is written in the newspaper, 1720, Steph says, full of excitement, hoping to receive part of the treasure, if there was any treasure of any kind. I flip one page and then another. This looks like the lady in the photo, I say, shoving the photo in Steph's face. Steph reads from the book. Miss Ruggs' daughter of Ruggs Paper Corp. vanishes on the property the year 1820. I wonder if Miss Rugg is the lady in the photo. If it is, I wonder what happened to the child. According to the article, the woman, when she vanished, she was the richest person in Massachusetts, Steph says. Steph, what do you think of past lives? What do you mean? Like, what if years ago we forgot, like amnesia, who we were, and now we can reclaim our past lives, I say, opening up a fragile idea. When we were upstairs in the closet, Steph begins saying, I could almost feel the lives lived here, as if I had been living here, but I think I know why. Say you frozen objects. Once you unfreeze it, it appears to be fresh. Do you mean it is the same thing with the closet? The closet you doubted, found the cavity in? Steph asks. Yes, that's the idea, I answer. That must have been the reason for the... Steph paused and got quiet, sort of embarrassed. You noticed it then, I say, relieved that I had someone to share in my experience. The strong smells, my dad calls them highs. Yep, sure it is, Steph says. I first noticed it in the photo, I say, picking it up, presenting it before Steph's eyes. I feel the photo move out of my hand. She's a beautiful woman. I wonder who the baby is in her hands. Maybe it's you, I answer. Yes, it could be, but a little too close for comfort. Even if we had lived here in the past, how could we have forgotten? Plus, now I'd be afraid to wake up to a nightmare, Steph responds. That's what I thought too, but the more I get the high, the more I daydream about, I say, and begin to drift off in my thoughts. Steph looks at me, shudders. What? About what? I don't know. Sometimes meeting the expectation around me feels a little burdensome. I admit, sort of humiliated. Well, Steph says, whatever it's burdensome, will not be able to burden us all that much longer if we did live here in the past. Because the past is stronger, I say, looking at Steph, shake her head up and down agreeing. Did you probe Frog or Sally? Steph asked. Sometimes younger children can pick up on these type things better. No, but I should, I reply. Suddenly, Frog and Sally surprise the both of us as they come rushing into my dad's library. What are you two doing? Sally asks. Steph still had the mysterious photo in her hand. She quickly brings it up to Sally's face and then the Frog's. We're trying to discover more about this picture, Steph says. Where'd you get it, Sally asks. Found it in the wall of the upstairs bathroom, I say. Bathroom? What would it be doing in the bathroom, Frog asks. I don't know, but the other day when Dad was busting the bathroom walls to pieces, he gave me the job of picking up the crumbs. I did not only find this picture, but shoes, papers, and some change. Perhaps jewelry, I say. Sally snatches the picture out of Steph's hands, turns away from us, and examines the photo. She's beautiful, Sally says. I wish I could live there. That is what I thought, I say, looking at Steph. Frog noticed the closeness between Steph and I, and turns towards Sally and says, Let me see. Where did you get that? Frog asks in a startled voice. And the bathroom wall, why? I see a lady that looks like that walking outside on my bedroom window at night. Sometimes she crawls up the wall and asks me to open the window, Frog says.